Hello everyone and welcome back to the Testo video guide series. In this guide we'll introduce the wait action. With this action you can use visual checks in your test scripts. The wait action in Testo-lang is quite powerful and can do a lot of things. We'll gradually learn these things throughout the future guides. But in this guide we'll focus on the most basic wait concepts and we'll learn how to wait for a text to appear on the screen. Let's go back to the Ubuntu server installation example. In the last video we managed to press some keyboard buttons and select the test memory menu option. But I'd mentioned that you first need to wait for the screen to appear before you can proceed to actual buttons pressing. And we did just that in a very poor way, with the sleep action. If you build up your tests with only sleeps and presses, it won't even have the right to be called a test, it's just a clicker. It tests nothing. So we're going to replace this unconditional sleep with something more meaningful. Our objective is this: wait for the language selection screen to show up and then press enter. But how can we be sure that the language selection screen has indeed showed up? And how a person would be sure of that? For example, he could say something like this: if I see the text English, then it's definitely the language selection screen before my eyes. In Testo-lang, you can wait for an event to happen with the wait action. It can register a lot of things on the screen, but in this video we'll talk only about the text detection. Waiting for the text English is very easy. Just write down wait English, and that's it. This action will block the test execution and give the control back only when the expected text appears on the screen. If the expected text doesn't show up till the end of the timeout, 1 minute by default, then an error is generated and the test fails. Okay, let's run the test. We can see that everything works as expected. The English text had been found and we proceeded to the next action, pressing enter. We can now do the next step, launch the Ubuntu installation procedure. We can do that by waiting install Ubuntu server text and then pressing enter one more time. You can continue to do so in such a manner and probably you can already see the pattern. The whole test script is basically just a set of pairs waiting for an event and reacting to the event. If the event doesn't happen at some point, the test fails. Try to give yourself a little practice. Develop this test script a little further and try to automate the installation procedure. But don't be too hasty. If you get to the hostname selection screen, just stop there until the next video. Let's get back to the example with imported Windows 7 virtual machine. Right now, in our only test, we just wait 1 minute and just kind of hope that the desktop would blow up by the end of the time. As we've already learned, this is a bad approach. Instead, let's wait for something more definite, like for example, recycle bin text to appear. If the recycle bin text is on the screen, it most likely means that the desktop has loaded up. But sometimes such a wait action might fail, because the default timeout is only 1 minute and it just may not be enough. The desktop may load a bit slower sometimes. So let's increase the timeout up to 5 minutes. This can be done with the timeout specifier. So now we can be sure that we definitely wait enough time for the desktop to boot up. And if the desktop is not there in 5 minutes, then something most likely went wrong and we need to fail the test. And finally, the last thing we'll discuss in this video, the interval specifier. By default, Testo checks the screen contents as frequently as possible. If you wait for an event for a long time and you want to decrease your CPU load or GPU load, depending on the Testo edition, then you may increase the interval time value. For instance, Interval 10s means that the screen is going to be checked every 10 seconds. And so that's all you need to know about the basics of the wait action. In the next video we'll gather all the necessary essentials for automating the Ubuntu server installation procedure. But for now, I thank you for your time and I'll see you in the next video.